Squidward Tentacle's beloved Bikini Bottom resident has committed over 47 documented crimes throughout the series. And that's just the ones we know about. From destruction of property to attempted murder, this video exposes the dark side of SpongeBob's neighbor that Nickelodeon doesn't want you to see. Prepare to have your childhood ruined as we uncover the shocking truth behind Squidward's criminal empire. Ever wondered how Squidward went from grumpy neighbor to full-blown criminal? Well, I spent way too much time analyzing SpongeBob episodes, and I think I've pinpointed the exact moment our favorite octopus took his first steps into the world of crime. Picture this. It's a typical day in Bikini Bottom. The sun is shining, the jellyfish are buzzing, and SpongeBob is laughing that signature laugh of his. But Squidward? He's had enough. After years of enduring SpongeBob's antics, something in him finally snaps. And what does he do? He decides to take out his frustrations on SpongeBob's innocent pineapple house. Now, I know what you're thinking. It's just a cartoon house, right? No big deal. Wrong. This isn't just some harmless prank. We're talking full-on property destruction here. Squidward didn't just TP the place or egg it. He went to town on that poor pineapple, leaving it looking like it had gone through a fruit juicer. But here's the thing. This wasn't just a one-time tantrum. Oh no, this was Squidward's gateway crime. From that moment on, it was like he'd gotten a taste for breaking the law, and he couldn't get enough. It's like watching someone go from stealing a candy bar to planning a bank heist in the span of a few episodes. Now, I'm no legal expert, but I'm pretty sure if Bikini Bottom had a real justice system, Squidward would be looking at some serious charges here. We're talking criminal mischief, vandalism, maybe even breaking and entering. In the real world, that could mean fines, community service, or even jail time. But in Bikini Bottom, it's just another Tuesday. And let me tell you, this pineapple incident, it's just the beginning. It's like Squidward suddenly realized he could get away with anything in this cartoon world, and he decided to test those limits. From here, things only get crazier. We're talking theft, fraud, assault, you name it, Squidward's probably done it. So, as we dive deeper into Squidward's criminal career, keep this moment in mind. This is where it all started. This is where our grumpy, clarinet-playing neighbor took his first step towards becoming Bikini Bottom's most unlikely criminal mastermind. And trust me, it only gets wilder from here. But it makes you wonder, doesn't it? If Squidward could go from respected community member to property destroyer overnight, what other dark secrets might be hiding behind that big nose and grumpy exterior? Stick around because we're about to uncover some crimes that would make even Plankton schemes look like child's play. All right, let's dive into Squidward's journey from petty pilferer to full-blown felon. It's like watching a really depressing episode of How to Become a Criminal Mastermind, starring everyone's favorite grumpy octopus. Remember that time Squidward borrowed SpongeBob's fancy spatula? Yeah, that wasn't just Squidward being a bad neighbor. That, my friends, was the beginning of his illustrious career in theft. It's like he got a taste for crime and decided, you know what? I think I'll have seconds. But our boy Squiddy didn't stop there. Oh no, he had to go bigger. From swiping Krabby Patty's secret formula attempts to trying to rob the Krusty Krab safe, Squidward's sticky tentacles were always reaching for more. It's like he was playing a twisted game of how much can I steal before someone notices. Now, I know what you're thinking, but he works at the Krusty Krab. Isn't that just borrowing? Nice try, but I don't think Mr. Krabs would see it that way. And neither would the Bikini Bottom PD. In fact, if Bikini Bottom had a real justice system, Squidward would be looking at some serious charges. We're talking petty theft for the smaller stuff, and potentially grand larceny for his more ambitious heists. But here's the real kicker. Squidward's not even good at stealing. He's like the world's worst cat burglar, leaving a trail of ink wherever he goes. Remember that time he tried to steal a toy from a claw machine in Skill Crane? Yeah, that didn't exactly go as planned. It's almost funny how bad he is at this whole crime thing, if it wasn't, illegal. But let's be real for a second. These thefts aren't just about the money or the items. They're about Squidward trying to steal something he can never have: happiness. It's like he thinks if he can just get that secret formula or that fancy toy, maybe, just maybe, he'll finally feel fulfilled. Spoiler alert, it doesn't work. As we watch Squidward's crimes escalate from petty theft to borderline grand larceny, we see a pattern emerging. Each theft is bolder, more desperate than the last. It's like he's trying to fill some empty void in his life with stolen goods and illicit thrills. But here's the million-dollar question, or should I say the Krabby Patty formula question. What could drive a simple cashier to such extremes? What makes a grumpy, clarinet-playing octopus decide that a life of crime is the answer to all his problems? Well, stick around because things are about to get even weirder. We're about to dive deeper into Squidward's criminal psyche, and trust me, it's a strange and ink-filled place. Who knows? Maybe we'll finally understand why Squidward can't seem to keep his tentacles to himself. Or maybe we'll just end up more confused than ever. Either way, it's gonna be one heck of a ride. Ever seen an octopus throw a punch? No? Well, let me introduce you to Squidward Tentacles, the 8-armed menace of Bikini Bottom. Our next stop on this crime spree tour takes us to the violent world of assault and battery. And trust me, Squidward's got a mean right hook and left hook and 6 other hooks. It started small, you know. A shove here, a slap there. But soon, Squidward was throwing hands faster than Spongebob flips patties. His victims? Anyone who dared to annoy him. So basically, everyone in Bikini Bottom. Take the episode Fools in April, for example. Squidward pulls a prank on Spongebob that goes way beyond harmless fun. He uses a rope to put Spongebob in actual danger. That's not just being a jerk, that's straight up assault. But here's the thing, Squidward's not just physically violent. Oh no, he's a master of psychological warfare too. The insults, the put-downs, the constant belittling of SpongeBob? That's all part of his MO. Remember when he read SpongeBob's diary out loud in Little Yellow Book? That's not just mean, it's emotional abuse. Squidward's verbal assaults can be just as damaging as his physical ones. Now, I know some of you are thinking, but it's just cartoon violence. Sure, tell that to Patrick after Squidward hit him with a clarinet. Those things hurt, animated or not. In the real world, Squidward's actions would definitely count as assault and battery. Assault is when you threaten or attempt to harm someone, and battery is when you actually make physical contact. Squidward? He's guilty of both multiple times over. The scary part? Squidward's violent outbursts are becoming more frequent and more intense. It's like watching a pressure cooker about to explode, except instead of soup, it's filled with angry octopus. His frustration with life in Bikini Bottom is clearly boiling over, and everyone around him is paying the price. What's really messed up is how Squidward seems to get away with it all. In the real world, he'd be facing some serious charges. But in Bikini Bottom, it's just another day at the Krusty Krab. It makes you wonder what kind of message this is sending to kids watching at home. Hey, it's okay to hit your friends if they annoy you. Not exactly the best life lesson, huh? As we move on to our next section, ask yourself this. If Squidward's willing to assault his neighbors, what other lines is he willing to cross? Because trust me, it gets worse. Much, much worse. Squidward's descent into violence is just the beginning of his criminal career. So stick around, because we're about to uncover some crimes that would make even the toughest fish in Bikini Bottom's prison system raise an eyebrow. Ladies and gentlemen, meet Squidward Tentacles. Or is it? At this point in our crime spree, we're never quite sure who Squidward is pretending to be. Welcome to the fraud and impersonation chapter of Squidward's criminal cookbook. And let me tell you, this octopus has more fake identities than a spy novel. It started innocently enough, pretending to be sick to get out of work. We've all been there, right? But Squidward took it to a whole new level. Fake doctors, fake health inspectors, even a fake SpongeBob at one point. The guy's like a one-man identity theft ring. But here's where it gets really messed up. Remember Squilliam Fancyson, Squidward's successful rival? Well, our boy Squiddy decided that if you can't beat him, become him. That's right, he straight up stole Squilliam's identity. In the episode, Professor Squidward impersonated Squilliam while teaching a music class. And guess what? He got arrested for it. Yeah, turns out identity theft is still a crime in Bikini Bottom. Who knew? But Squidward didn't stop there. Oh no, he had to go bigger. He once impersonated a health inspector to try and shut down the Krusty Krab. I mean, talk about biting the hand that feeds you. Or in this case, the claw that pays you minimum wage. Now, I know what you're thinking. It's just pretend? He's not hurting anyone. Oh, really? Tell that to the people of Bikini Bottom, who keep getting duped by his schemes. Or to the real Squilliam, who probably has to deal with some serious identity theft issues now. And let's not forget, in the real world, impersonating health officials can land you in some serious hot water. We're talking criminal charges for fraud and identity theft, fines, and even jail time. The scariest part? Squidward's getting good at this. Like, really good. It's only a matter of time before he pulls off the ultimate con. And trust me, you don't want to miss what's coming next. But here's the thing. Squidward's impersonations aren't just about causing chaos or getting revenge. They reveal something deeper about our favorite grumpy octopus. When he pretends to be Squilliam, it's not just about messing with his rival. It's about living out a fantasy of being successful, admired, everything he's not in his real life. It's like he's trying on different identities, hoping one will finally make him happy. Ever wondered how many times Squidward has tried to off Spongebob? No? Just me? Okay. Well, to answer my own weird question, I spent way too much time rewatching SpongeBob episodes. And let me tell you, one thing became clear real fast. Squidward's got some serious anger issues. Now, I know what you're thinking. Squidward? Attempted murder? Come on. But hear me out. Our grumpy octopus has come closer to crossing that line than you might think. It started small, you know. A little prank here, a booby trap there. But as Squidward's frustration grew, so did the danger of his actions. Take the lost mattress, for example. Squidward actually tried to get SpongeBob and Patrick eaten by a guard worm. He dressed them up in steak suits and sent them into a dangerous area. That's not just being a jerk. That's actively putting lives at risk. And it's not like this was a one-time thing. In sports, Squidward created this messed up sports game that led to SpongeBob and Patrick injuring themselves. It's like he was getting a kick out of their pain. And in Gary's Got Legs, Squidward straight up expressed excitement at the thought of SpongeBob's death. Who does that? But here's where it gets really messed up. In The Curse of Bikini Bottom, Squidward lent his lawnmower to SpongeBob and Patrick, hoping they'd hurt themselves. He didn't just not care about their safety, he actively wanted them to get injured. That's some dark stuff for a kid's show. Now, I know in cartoon land, characters bounce back from anything. SpongeBob could probably survive being launched into the sun. But think about it in real terms. Squidward has repeatedly put his neighbors in life-threatening situations. That's not just criminal, that's sociopathic. The scariest part? Squidward doesn't seem to feel much remorse. It's like he's so far gone, he can't even see how messed up his actions are anymore. He's gone from being annoyed by SpongeBob to actively trying to harm him. That's a pretty big leap, and not in a good way. So, how did we get here? How did a simple, grumpy neighbor become capable of such darkness? It's like watching a supervillain origin story, except instead of cool powers, Squidward just got more bitter and dangerous. And here's the million-dollar question. Is there any hope for redemption? Can Squidward pull himself back from the brink? Or is he doomed to keep spiraling into darker and darker territory? Only time will tell, I guess. But one thing's for sure. I'll never look at that Easter Island house the same way again. Ever wondered how far Squidward would go to destroy the Krusty Krab? No? Just me? Okay, well, to answer my own weird question, I did a deep dive into SpongeBob episodes, and let me tell you, Squidward's hatred for his job goes way beyond just complaining. Picture this, the Krusty Krab, home of the famous Krabby Patty and Squidward's personal hell for years. You'd think he'd have some loyalty to the place that's been paying his bills, right? Wrong. Our boy Squiddy decided to take his frustration to a whole new level. In Can You Spare a Dime, Squidward quit his job in a fit of rage after being accused of stealing. Now, that might not sound too criminal, but it led to him becoming homeless. Talk about impulsive decisions having consequences. But that was just the beginning. Squidward's resentment towards the Krusty Krab grew so much that he started actively trying to sabotage the place. And I'm not talking about just spitting in the Krabby Patties. Gross, by the way. No, Squidward went full supervillain mode. He teamed up with Plankton. Yeah, you heard that right. Squidward joined forces with Mr. Krabs' arch nemesis. In episodes like Sweet and Sour Squid and Chum Fricassee, they worked together to bring down the Krusty Krab. Talk about betrayal. It's like Batman teaming up with the Joker to destroy Wayne Enterprises. But here's where it gets really messed up. Squidward's actions weren't just about sticking it to Mr. Krabs. This was his twisted way of trying to destroy everything he hated about his life in Bikini Bottom. The Krusty Krab wasn't just a restaurant to him. It was a symbol of all his frustrations and failures. In Goodbye, Krabby Patty, Squidward's actions actually got him fired. And you know what? He saw it as a victory at first. That's how much he hated his job. But it quickly revealed just how insecure and desperate for validation he really was. Now, I know what you're thinking. It's just a cartoon, right? No real harm done. But let's get real for a second. In the real world, this kind of employee sabotage would have some serious consequences. We're talking termination of employment, lawsuits for damages to the business, maybe even criminal charges. Squidward would be in some deep legal trouble faster than you can say Krabby Patty. The worst part? There were moments when Squidward almost succeeded in bringing down the Krusty Krab. The restaurant teetering on the edge of closure, Spongebob devastated, Mr. Krabs broke. And Squidward? He actually felt like he'd won. That's some messed up job satisfaction right there. So, where does Squidward go from here? After betraying his workplace, his co-workers, and basically everything else in his life, what's left for our favorite grumpy octopus? Well, stick around because we're about to dive into the shocking aftermath of Squidward's crime spree. Trust me, you won't believe how it all ends up. Well, folks, we've reached the end of our Squidward crime spree tour, and it's time for our favorite grumpy octopus to face the music. Picture this: the Bikini Bottom courthouse packed tighter than a can of anchovies. There's Squidward, looking more miserable than ever, if that's even possible. His tentacles in cuffs. The charges? Oh boy, where do we even start? Vandalism, theft, assault, fraud, attempted murder. The list is longer than one of Squidward's painful clarinet solos. The prosecution paints a picture of a squid who's completely lost control. They've got a point. I mean, we've seen Squidward go from grumpy neighbor to full-on criminal mastermind in just a few seasons. But here's where it gets interesting. Spongebob, bless his square little heart, tries to defend his neighbor. Can you imagine? After all the abuse Squidward's put him through, Spongebob's still there, trying to see the good in him. But even Spongebob's endless optimism can't sugarcoat the mountain of evidence. Sorry, buddy, but he didn't mean it doesn't really hold up in court when you've tried to feed someone to a worm. As the jury deliberates, I can't help but wonder, how did we get here? How did Squidward go from a simple, grumpy cashier to Bikini Bottom's public enemy number one? It's like watching a supervillain origin story, except instead of cool powers, Squidward just got more bitter and dangerous. The verdict comes in, and, well, I won't spoil it for you, but let's just say Squidward might be trading in his Easter Island home for a slightly less roomy cell. Hope he likes the color orange because he might be wearing it for a while. But here's the thing that really gets me. As Squidward faces the consequences of his actions, we're left with a pretty chilling thought. In a town as wacky as Bikini Bottom, where consequences rarely stick and everything resets by the next episode, what does it take for someone to truly hit rock bottom? I mean, think about it. The show has occasionally touched on themes of redemption and consequences, but it's always in a humorous context. Remember Breath of Fresh Squidward? Squidward got electrocuted and suddenly became nice. But that change didn't last long, did it? It's like the show keeps hitting the reset button on Squidward's character development. Or how about Can You Spare a Dime? Squidward quit his job and ended up homeless. For a moment, it looked like he was facing real consequences for his actions. But then Spongebob took him in, and everything went back to normal. It's like the show can't decide if it wants Squidward to face real consequences or not. So, as the gavel falls and Squidward's fate is sealed, we're left with some pretty heavy questions. In a world of endless optimism and reset buttons, is there still hope for redemption? Or has our favorite grumpy neighbor finally gone too far? I guess we'll have to tune in to the next episode to find out. But one thing's for sure. I'll never look at that Easter Island house the same way again.